Hello and welcome to The Final Bell, the official Geelong Cats podcast. It is great to have you with us for another week, a terrific week, a fantastic week after a great Cats win. We are brought to you each week by our friends at Morris, personal finance solutions, expert advice and finance specialists all in one place. I am joined by Meg McDonald, AFLW captain. MegMac, I want to talk Cats and Port Adelaide. I want to talk about that terrific win, the last quarter, all the moments on that Saturday night clash. But I also want to talk about the wonderful Monday night game that we all witnessed, the Matildas.
Yes.
How good.
Didn't get as much sleep as planned last night, but how good. I've gone with the Cats tea today because a fresh round of shopping at the Cat shop yesterday, but I was very close to wearing the Tilly's Guernsey, but I'll just keep it I'll keep it fresh for Saturday night. What a game, and you know, it's just so exciting leading into our own season to watch how their attitude, how the coach speaks. You just learn so much from people who are playing under the pressure that they are and performing the way they are, and players who. See, I'm already going on about it, but I look at them and I think, you know what? Lots of us remember going to watch you in front of no one out the back of, you know, a university somewhere, and here you are in front of 80,000 people getting it done. So it's exciting in the here and now, and exciting for women's sport generally. And
they were all awesome. Just playing in unison. It was brilliant to watch, and even the little and I'm going to get the names wrong here because I don't follow as closely as you.
Go for it. See if I can pick you up.
But the little layoff for the second goal.
Oh, Van Egmond.
Yes, thank you. Had the chance to shoot, probably, given where she was. The selflessness, and brought a teammate into the game, and bang. And it's a clinical team goal. Yeah. That was superb to watch. That's a team that is right united together. And what about the spine-tingling moment and the build-up? I love the theatre of it all when Sam's been given the word to warm up and the crowd starts, getting up and going, it might happen. And then the moment when the sign goes up and Sam's standing on the sideline.
The moment where she takes the bib off and, oh, my goodness. I was had a few of my teammates around to watch it. So we trained yesterday, and then so Rach, Neens, Amy McDonald and Prasparkas were over, and I was literally standing on the couch when it happened. I mean, we were there for the first game at that stadium, and to hear that the noise had lifted was fantastic. And the moment they exchanged the captain's armband, love Catley, has been doing so well, and what a moment. And yes, you got to get the minutes in the legs if you're going to turn up for the quarterfinal. So great decision to play her in my expert medical opinion.
Yes, it was. Fantastic. So it's Saturday night.
Saturday, 5 o'clock, I think.
5 o'clock.
Which petition starting to get our practice match moved earlier in the day.
Well, you do have that coming up, don't you? So it's a match play against Collingwood.
Yeah. So the Cats
Park.
got a weekend full of Collingwood coming up. So we play after the VFL at Vic Park, 3 o'clock on Saturday. After, I'm sure we'll get to it, a huge Friday night win by the boys.
Yes, let's hope so. Okay, let's talk some football. It was an excellent win against Port Adelaide on Saturday night. A game where, from last week, the disappointment of last week, but also losing Mark Blitzarves, Tom Hawkins, down a few players. Port Adelaide, they lose a couple as well. Alir goes out with concussion, so does Jones. Dixon then is out. Then a couple of late withdrawals with illness. Certainly helped things, but when the first ball got bounced, it looked as though both teams were right on, and forget about personnel. Yeah. It was a high-level game of football.
Yeah, it was an excellent game. And, I was so excited to see that midfield, the Port's midfield go at it live, and to watch Butters just absolutely run his little, and he was just running his little tail off.
Him, Rosie and Jason Horne-Francis are something special as far as young midfields go, and show how bright the Port future is in that middle part of the ground. And Butters and Rosie in particular in this game were lighting it up. Yeah. But we were certainly giving as good as we got.
Yeah, weren't we? And going into the game, I was so excited to see that sort of crop of players that they've got from 2018, how our sort of 2020, not they didn't all get drafted to the Cats, but that are now at the Cats. Henry, incredible game, or incredible first half. You've got Tanner Bruin and Max Holmes. That sort of, they're a couple of years younger than those Port boys, and I think they were up for it. And played extremely well.
And the really good thing for mine was, I think the first quarter, free-flowing, high-scoring, great football, both teams, but we had the edge. Second and third quarters, they got the game on their terms.
Yeah.
Port Adelaide, they owned the ball in their forward half of the ground. We found it really difficult to move the ball, I think.
Yeah.
And so often it was a long, slower kick down the line and they swept it away or they got the intercept. So when the game shifts like that, it is very hard to shift it back in your favour playing against a really good opposition that Port Adelaide are. So to then flip it around and have the last quarter we had, that is a great sign.
Yeah, it's a fantastic sign. And I think the balance, which I know we'll get to, Isaac Smith spoke about it after the game, but you've got your young ones turning it on in that first quarter. And as you say, that first quarter, I thought, this is soothing after a couple of weeks of watching us, really slow first halves and an inability for either team to score. So to get straight away, I was actually sitting there with our Irish recruiter who we're hosting at the moment, and I'm sitting there next to him thinking, this is a great game for you to have watched that first quarter. But then, when it really counts, we still had those experienced heads to shift the game back in our favour.
Yeah, that's big, isn't it? Because a player like, and I'm just going to pluck one out, but let's say an Ollie Henry or a Tanner Bruin. Yeah. We've seen the level of quality that they can go to at different times this season. But what happens when you're 20, 21, 22 years of age, you can't sustain it for 120 minutes. You either haven't got the conditioning yet, you haven't got the game experience yet. It's just a fact. Yeah. You drop away at different points in the game. That's part of being young. You hit your peak when you're about 25 years of age in AFL. So those players were excellent at times, but then dropped off at times against another really good team. So that's when you need your experience, your great leaders, your conditioned players, Stewart and Dangerfield and these types of players, and especially when we're missing a Hawkins and a Blitzarves and a Cam Guthrie to step up, and that's what they did.
Yeah, and they also stepped up in front of goal, I think, to sort of make sure that, Izzy, Danger, Mitch Duncan, they're finishing well, which I think in, the previous couple of weeks you think, and even Jezza, you're thinking, all right, we've got a shot on and we're just not quite making it count. But I thought that was a bit back on this week, so that was good to see.
And another player, when we talk about who's probably shifted out of being that young player to now
let's talk about him.
An inexperienced enough player who can sustain it for long enough, and he's having a wonderful season, is Brian Myers.
Yeah, how good is he?
Just, again, his creativity, and I know throughout the broadcast for Channel 7, I was working as part of it, we kept highlighting those goal assist numbers and how incredible, how far ahead. 5 goal assists compared to the rest of the competition. He is miles ahead. I think everybody in the opposition knows his kicking style and knows he's going to pull the kick late and all that, but they still can't stop it.
No, they can't stop it. And not only was he goal assisting, he's kicked those 2 set shots. I don't think he had done that this year before that point. But I also the thing that I notice watching him live now is he kicks that goal and they're walking back to the middle. And he's being so instructional to his teammates. I think his growth into that leadership space that, as we know, is so much easier when you are feeling like, as a player, you're having an impact on the team and the result. You sort of feel that more confident to be able to then lead. But I remember, it's just a little detail, but the ball was stuck in our D50, and he's at the top of, he's sort of the highest forward at the time, and he's turning back behind him to instruct the forwards to shape up in a certain way. And that's not the easiest. It's a hard position to do that from, to be up at half forward, and you got the contest in front of you that you're supposed to be putting pressure on and providing a release option for, to then have the capacity to turn around and instruct what's happening behind you. I just thought that was a huge marker of where he's at in his career.
My passion and philosophy around coaching, not that I've coached much, or just the juniors, is around development, and that really big focus on that. So I love seeing the different developmental journeys of different players. The great Joel Selwood, who's obviously got a book out at the moment, fantastic book. I'm sure lots of our listeners...
I'll check my locker later there. No, I'll go to the bookstore.
But you see him, he hits the ground running from day one. Just outstanding. Nick Dacos, unfortunately injured. We'll get to him shortly when we talk about Friday night's game. Just day one, ready to go. That's not the norm. Yeah. You get players like Brian Myers who don't look like it in their first season. Yeah. And the coaches are maybe even scratching their head going, hang on a second, what have we drafted here? but seeing the certain little attributes that you can add to, and the game sense and the running capacity and the skill use and the ball use. Zach Guthrie's another one that we've spoken about a bit on this podcast. A journey of development where, hang on, is this kid just too skinny to play AFL? He's going to be pushed around. Now he's one of our best, most reliable defenders and does not get beaten in one-on-ones. Yeah. I love those journeys. Tom Atkins is an obvious one who didn't get drafted and had to go through a different system. Tom Stewart, the same. Then you get your Max Holmeses and your Tanner Bruins, higher draft picks, and you can see why. I love all that, and I love the way a team can be brought together with all those different journeys to then all play a really important part in being a good team. Yeah,
and I think we've spoken about before the fact that when you're not given all the opportunities on your way up, it holds you in really good stead come this time now when the opportunity is before you. And Grind has an amazing game on the weekend. The boys we usually have them at main training in front of us because of the Friday night game. They've got a day off today. Grind's down in the kick room with the young ones at the moment, still committing to his craft, which, I don't want to overstate it because you're a professional athlete. That's how the best go about it. But that's, really exciting to see. And I think the other thing about his game is he's quite emblematic of, I think, what we're asking of the group more broadly. Not everyone should be trying to bite off the kicks that he is, but they should be backing their own games in the way that he is. And I think as we ask for the team to, as Scotty says, remember that to play with a bit more assertiveness or confidence, less passivity, you don't have to look any further than Grind to know what that looks like. And when you're playing that way with that confidence, yes, the competition's talking about you in, league best sort of categories.
Absolutely. Well said, Meg. He's been terrific. Let's look ahead, if we can.
Let's do it. The list of games coming up gets shorter each week on the run sheet.
It does.
It's getting...
I can't believe we're at this time of the year.
We're down to almost one line.
Yes. Collingwood Friday night, obviously. St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. And then the Western Bulldogs now locked in Saturday night here at GMHBA Stadium. What a climax to the season that's going to be.
I know.
The list of those round 24 games... Maybe similar to last year where it might come down to the very last game to decide the top 8 and the positions within the top 8.
It will, and we don't have the numbers here, but I can think of quite a few handy wins against the Dogs down here. Was it Joel's record-breaking game or maybe his 350th last year? I think that was against the Dogs. Stewie takes the specky on the, so I'm expecting big things.
The Gary Rowan goal after the siren, that was the Dogs?
That was the Dogs, yeah. So, I mean, the stage is set for another one. But I was it the Dogs? Yeah, it was the Dogs.
Yep, we're
getting
we're
getting the confirmation.
I remember the Zach Tui one was against Melbourne.
It was,
the Gary Rowan one was against the Dogs. You remember those games?
Yeah, absolutely you do. But I also make no secret of my love for the Bont, who was so good on the weekend. So we'll be seeing him live. But gosh. We've got a big game to get through.
Yes, we do. We do. Collingwood, a couple of injuries and just a little dip in their form.
Off the boil.
Yeah, and that's natural for a team that's been up for a long time, been the best team in the competition for the majority of the season. The injuries are a little worry for them. Nathan Murphy going down with, I think, a syndesmosis injury. And then Nick Dacos, the big one. Obviously, the star was favourite for the Brownlow medal. The knee injury that has now had to be repaired. Yeah, it just was open to the collision and you could see the clash of the knees and talking, I don't know, 4 to 6 weeks. Is that what they're saying? So. Yeah, so obviously crucial to get him back for the Pies' chances this season. It is still a very, very good Collingwood team. This idea, I was hearing comments, I won't name names because we all just tend to chat about different things as you work in various media outlets.
It was producer Jake, wasn't it? He's the one that said it.
Was that Collingwood can't win the premiership now that Nick Dacos is injured.
I know who said that. Yep.
Let's just have a look at the rest of that Collingwood team before we go saying things like that. They are an excellent football team, really well balanced. Yes, Nick Dacos is a star, an absolute star, but there is a lot of quality in that Collingwood lineup. So it's going to be a great challenge for us Friday night at the MCG. Huge crowd expected, I would imagine, for this important game. Can I talk about possible
Go ahead.
ins, outs?
Yeah.
Unfortunately,
don't break my heart.
I'm going to get the bad news out of the way, which most Geelong fans will have already heard, I would say by now. In what looked like almost an innocuous moment on Saturday night, Jack Henry came from the ground having just complained about a bit of foot soreness, got stomped on, I think, or stepped on on his foot, not his bad foot, for want of a better word. And it was just a little bit of precaution, we thought, but unfortunately the club's now announced that it's a Liz Frank fracture. And
Fracture?
Is that right?
Ligaments?
A Liz Frank injury.
I think you can get two different. Sometimes it's bone, sometimes it's ligament.
I'm going to change that to a Liz Frank injury.
A midfoot injury.
A midfoot injury. Thank you, Meg. The daughter of a physio.
Shout out, Gordy.
Yes, I don't want to say break if it's not, but it's a Liz Frank injury. It's on the, as I mentioned, the other foot from the one that he had trouble with in the pre-season. He will now go into the rehab program and get that right, but I would imagine that's a few weeks on the sidelines at least. Unfortunately for Jack, he's been playing such good footy.
Yeah, I know. And when he was missing earlier in the season, he's a classic one where you come back in and the whole team looks different. And his versatility, we speak so often about Blitz's versatility and the options that he gives us. But, Jack was back in the forward line this weekend because Sav was in the back line. And he's just this shouldn't matter. He shouldn't play favourites in this sense, but he's the loveliest person.
Yes,
and he's so modest, and I think you see that in the way he plays his footy. He genuinely couldn't care less where he plays as long as he's playing, for the team and getting the most out of everyone around him. So really, really disappointing. In a small way, I'm thankful that it's not that same foot injury.
Yeah.
But disappointing as I feel like we're starting to see an uplift in the team's form again. It'll be a huge loss. And I hope he's okay. It would have hurt. And you can see when you get stomped, it hurts anyway. So the idea that he's, tough and he comes back out and he thinks maybe it's just the studs. Understandable because ouch.
Yes, ouch is right.
Ouch.
So hopefully he's okay. Knowing him, he will do everything to get back before the end of this season. So there's at least one spot in the team available. The other one from the weekend, a little bit, Meg, as we look for Friday night, was Gary Rowan, who just looked sore at times. Obviously had that moment where he miskicked the ball, and I was worried that he'd torn something when that happened. He was okay from that, but Simon Lloyd just talking about in the injury update or the health update.
Yeah.
From the about the players, has had an ankle irritation for a small period of time, and although better than it was last week, will need to adjust his program, but he is expected to be available this week. So that's good news, but sounding like Gary's pretty sore.
Yeah, I think Gary's pretty sore.
As players are at this time.
Gary might be on limited minutes, but, if Sam Kerr showed us anything, just get him back on there.
Just get him out there.
That's who needs to train.
Absolutely. So hopefully Gary can play as well, and hopefully Jack's the only one who comes out. Little update, Tom Hawkins running well and is hitting all the markers he has to hit and will complete main training on Wednesday.
Huge.
That seems remarkably fast for the big Hawkie. He's doing so well.
He knows how to get it done, I think.
Yeah,
if 350 almost games get you anything, it's knowing how to manage the body.
Yep.
So
and great professionalism. Mark Blitzarves ran on Monday and he'll join the reconditioning program. Obviously his, I think last week they stated, obviously a little bit more serious a tear of the hammy than what Tom's was. So he's a bit behind Hawkie, but hopefully not too far away as well. VFL.
Yeah.
Who might actually, just before I do that, Brandon Parfitt showed someone who you bring him back in when he's in form, having played a really good game in the VFL the week before, came on as a sub, and looked like he hadn't missed a beat.
Yeah,
because
he's
played
great
him when
in
he's
the contest.
playing well.
Yeah. No, I don't have anything further to add to that other than love it, and I'm sure he holds his spot if that's the case.
Yes, I'd say he would. So therefore, if Jack Henry's out,
if Hawk's back in, we hope.
Oh, yeah, okay. Just a straight swap. You reckon Hawk?
I reckon he might be in.
Oh, good. I like it, Meg. So hopefully it's Hawk for Henry. If not. Can we get Ollie Dempsey a game?
Okay, yeah. Oh, we can. put him in. I think
I've told you in this podcast, you're allowed to put in whoever you want.
Yeah.
You don't have to drop anyone.
I know Jed Buse is probably going to be pushing for selection.
Yes, another good name to bring up.
And I think, it's like, where has Jack come out of? Does he come out of the forward line or the back line? Is Asava now back in the team and back as a key defender like he was, playing so well early in the season? And, I mean, he also was clunking them. Like, there was he hadn't missed a beat. So I don't know. I think we've looked vulnerable at ground level at times in the back line. Obviously, there were 4 goals to Rioli.
Pau Pepper got 3 at ground level as well.
So that's I'm sure Jed's thinking, I can do that job.
Let me loose.
That's probably appropriate for Collingwood, would you say? They've got, their threats at ground level.
Well, they've just got that really versatile, multiple option forward line. Jamie Elliott's playing. Yeah, he's playing at the moment.
He's in good form at the moment, isn't he?
Yeah, well, he has been in outstanding form. Brody Myercheck's a key part of that as their big. But then there's just multiple options buzzing around. McCreary can bob up and high pressure, find a foot. Yeah, so that ground ball play that you're talking about is probably pretty crucial on Friday night.
So that's 24 we've got in.
I told you, just keep adding them.
Yeah,
we can be the good ones. The coaches, they're the ones who can leave people out.
Done. Yeah, why? Well, just stick to junior coaching. We don't have to do any of that sort of stuff.
The good thing is with junior coaching is if you just give the nod to the other coach of the other team, it's like, we're supposed to play with 15, but they've got 17 and we've got 17. It's like, put them all on the ground. No
That's
bench.
great.
The kids don't need to freeze on the sidelines.
And what happens when you need a win? What do you do then?
Oh, no, you just
Where do you put Henry?
No, just let them play. We had a Friday night game just gone. I couldn't coach, and the team still won without me coaching. So I'm starting to wonder whether or not I've had any impact on these kids.
Or an excellent impact. May they lead themselves now.
Very good. Quickly, Friday night, Collingwood. 7:50 game, MCG. I recommend you planning your trip around how you get up there because it will be a big crowd. No Dacos, as I mentioned. We saw Finn McGuinness play an incredible role in Nick Dacos. I think he had 5 touches to about the 10-minute mark of the last quarter until he got injured. Keen to see Finn McGuinness again this week. They're playing the Bulldogs.
On the Bont, you reckon?
If he locks away the Bont and they can beat the Bulldogs,
rob him of 3 votes.
Then it's proof that a good tagger is back, Meg.
Are we getting to a question on that subject?
No, probably don't need to because Nick Dacos isn't playing this week.
No. Oh, sorry, I meant
coming up in questions later on. There we go. You're working beautifully together here.
And Clunky, don't try and lead me into a segment here.
No.
We're out of sync.
You're leading me beautifully. Can I lead you into a live read then?
Go on then.
Okay, because life's busy.
Life is busy and it's busy enough without more life admin. That's why Morris is now bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Their team is here to help you finance your next lifestyle asset with their free person-to-person service designed to find a finance deal that works best for you. Call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au.
What I've found is when in doubt, and I have no really good segue, just go the obvious and say, I'm about to lead you into a live read. And we did it beautifully.
It's coming. It's coming. Like our coach likes to say, with the stand rule, you can telecast the fact that you're about to give a handball receive. They can't do anything about it.
They still can't move.
Yeah. So you just tell me it's happening. I'm still going to read it.
And you nailed it beautifully. Let's take a break. Welcome back. It is great to have you with us on to the final bell. We are recording this on a magnificent Tuesday morning at GMHBA Stadium in the Morris box. Great outlook out there. No one's training because, as you said in the previous segment, Meg, we're being a Friday night game. The training schedule's a little different this week.
Shift, yep.
Hopefully just plenty of recovery and be raring to go on Friday night. I want to get to some questions from our wonderful listeners. We really appreciate everyone who listens, especially everyone who sends questions in. This is the one you alluded to before where you tried to set me up beautifully and it just went whizzing past me.
Play dumb, Lingy.
I'm not sure I was playing. It's just me full stop. This one's from Andrew. With Finn McGuinness's performance over the past couple of weeks, are we seeing the return of the tagger?
Question for you, I think. What do you reckon?
Great question, because I have said all along, 100%, and I've said it until I'm blue in the face, there is absolutely a really important role for the right tagger within a team against the right opponent / opposition.
Question on Finn McGuinness, I haven't watched too closely. Is he getting any of the ball himself?
Yes.
He is.
Yes. No, he's adding more to his game. So he's not yet getting it 20 times and kicking a goal a game or anything like that. But he's starting to look for ways to just get off the opposition and make them work a little bit in the modern game of team defences and working as a midfield unit. Yep. Less of the real strict one-on-one running. You can't go hunting the ball too far thinking my opponent will follow me everywhere and I can tire him out, because he'll just hand over to someone else, get a rest while you're running around like a headless chook. So he's picking the right times to influence the game. I've said it last couple of years, Brisbane, Lachie Neale. Yeah. Yes, tag him, because he is so important to that team. And prior to Josh Dunkley arriving, that entire midfield revolved around him and his influence on a game. So if you can remove that player's influence, it goes a long way to beating a good football team. So the right opposition, the right opponent, who is crucial to the team's chances, i.e. this week, Hawthorn playing the Bulldogs, Marcus Bontempelli is so influential to the Western Bulldogs' chances of winning. If you could get him to have a 20 disposal, 2 clearance, 0 goal game, massive tick to your chances of beating the Western Bulldogs. However, you've got to have a player who can do it and do it well. A player who can have that concentration and defensive decision making in the middle of the ground to play the role, but not somebody who's just a backpack and just follows that player around. I was going to say,
what's the key quality of someone who can do it well?
Well, someone who can do it well. So you need the physical attributes.
I was going to say, surely fitness is...
Yep. You need to be elite endurance. You need to...
The height?
I believe pretty strongly in someone with, a bit of height, a bit of a stronger body, hold your own in the contests, the stoppage situation, so you're not easily pushed off. You need to be elite decision maker, because you need to know when to... you're going to play on somebody who is an elite decision maker.
Yes.
And you can't just follow, because if you just follow, then he's going to have a 2-step break on you, which is enough for them. So you've got to be making a decision almost as quickly as what they are to cut them off, and then a decision to attack as well.
Yeah.
So elite decision making. And I think you also need to have an ability to find the footy. I think attacking players in their junior career, early AFL career, are best suited to, who maybe don't end up becoming elite mids themselves in that capacity. They have an ability still to find the footy and make good attacking decisions. If you could have, again, the Bontempelli, if Finn McGuinness could have, keep Bontempelli to 22 clearances, 0 goals, but you could have 15 touches against Bontempelli, but kick 2 goals yourself because Bont's gone hunting the ball or has just lost concentration thinking, I've got to get the ball, and you can kick a goal or 2 against them, that is a huge, huge win. So Andrew, I think that type of player...
I've got one more question for you on it, just because I'm interested. Do you think it then works best? I mean, obviously it works best, but would you change your strategy around it if it was a team who's, as you say, has one midfielder that's so dominant? Does it change? So in the past you might go to Lachie Neale. Does it change that with the presence of Dunkley? Or is it still good to get rid of one of them and then maybe the other gets out?
I think Lachie Neale is so supreme at what he does and brings others into the game. I think he's still a candidate. You have to be wary of Dunkley and McCluggage and others doing things. But we saw Hayden Young for Freo do a job on Lachie. By the way, I love Justin Longmuir. Yeah. I know they haven't got things perfectly right in Fremantle this season, given the expectations. But rewind about 3 years ago, he was playing Caleb Sarong on all the gun mids. He did it against Dangerfield one time. Taught him how to play, how the gun mids play, how to play with a balance in his game. Caleb Sarong's one of the best mids going around in the competition now. He's doing it with Young.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it. and it's going to evolve to the point where in 2 years' time, Young won't be doing it anymore, but he still has the capacity to do it, but it's going to make him an elite midfielder as well. It's so clever. I think what's a good example of a midfield? Say a midfield that doesn't have that one ridiculously influential player through the middle of the ground. Probably the Adelaide Crows a little bit at the moment. Despite what Rory Laird gets a lot of the ball, he's not so unbelievably pivotal to their success. Therefore, you don't necessarily need to do it. It's a really even Adelaide Crows midfield. So you could maybe match back your system against their system. Best midfield wins on the day. But some teams have got that one guy who everybody else's decision-making revolves around what they're doing.
Almost. If you've ever won a Brownlow or might win a Brownlow, go to that player.
There's a bloke named Patrick Cripps for Carlton, who's obviously pretty important too when you think of those key players. But certainly, Andrew, some teams don't have the right player to play the tagger, though.
Yeah.
Because a 100% negative tagger is useless. I wouldn't play him. So thank you for that, Andrew. This one is from Serena, and this is a great moment. Thank you for this one, Serena. I think we're both going to agree with this one. Jack Bowe's gut running and goal in the third quarter after we hadn't scored for 30 minutes was team and crowd lifting. Felt like it was the moment he became a Geelong player, in inverted commas. Can you think of any other times where a player announced themselves to the faithful like that? Let's just talk about Jack for a moment, though, Meg.
Because I don't know if I have an answer to that one. Well, maybe I do. Actually, I'm not sure. Okay, Jack. Sorry. Whoa. A lot just flashed through just then.
Jack.
Where was he playing at the time? I was like, was he off halfback?
Well, I'm not exactly sure. I never fully know whether he's wing, halfback. It's that constantly changing role that he plays that you can't pinpoint. Okay, right. He's right here right now.
Yeah.
But it was important.
It was important. And looking at the behind the goals footage that our mate Jake's put up, I mean, he was on the whole way down the ground.
Yeah.
And, I think it wasn't made easy for him for that final finish. He was open as anything, but it was a bit of a mongrel from the captain.
It got there.
That's what I say. If the intent and the commitment to what you're trying to do is strong enough, doesn't matter if it's a drop punt, it'll get there. So his collection and then finish, yes, he was on his own and it was directly in front, but there were challenges and it was important nonetheless. And whether or not we think it was a moment he became a Geelong player, I think his reaction said that he probably felt a bit of that, Yeah,
and he's feeling
he feels
like he
belongs.
belongs.
Yeah, I'm sure he already feels like a Geelong player, but that would really help his standing.
There is something about, so the crowd, and you would have noticed this too, was up for the game on Saturday night.
Yeah, they were.
Even from the start, occasionally we get a start of a game here and the ball gets bounced and everyone just goes
Just chills
quiet,
out a bit.
Just chills, has a little chat to the person next to them. It wasn't that on Saturday night. It was, we got to win this.
Yeah,
this is a genuine must win. And the crowd felt it and it had that atmosphere right throughout the whole game. And to have a moment like Jack did in front of that sort of home crowd, I think can feel pretty special to someone. So I hope that's, whether or not it's the exact moment or there's multiple moments for him where he feels, oh yeah, I'm part of this team and I can contribute, I'm valuable, and I love being a part of this team.
Yeah.
It's funny, the rest of Serena's question there, this isn't a player who came from another club, but I can still clearly remember the moment when Matty Stokes was just accepted's not the right word, adored.
Yes, yeah.
By the Geelong fans as a young bloke. We were playing Port Adelaide here. This was his first season, I reckon game number half a dozen games in. Yeah. And he was about 5 efforts in a row of this little tiny Matty Stokes against a good Port Adelaide. And he just hunted and pressured and turned over and then ran back and then went back with a fight, got smashed up. And it was huge and eventually won it back. And I think we might have scored off. And he jogged to the bench, absolutely spent, exhausted. Just thinking, what the hell is this AFL caper? And the whole crowd just got on their feet and cheered him off. And that still stands in my mind as like, Oh, yeah, they're going to love this guy for a long, long time.
Yeah, that's awesome. And it's that moment, isn't it, when you do the thing that you've been recruited for, whether that is pressure, whether it's I'm an elite kick and I've just finished in front of goal, I've clunked a big mark. I think it's those moments where you think, yes, it's both role playing and an individual who's stepping up to the plate. So it's good time. I don't have a specific answer. I was just thinking that, I'm sure there are times in Danger won a Kaji in his first year, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure he was and a Brownlow. Did he win a Kaji and a Brownlow in his first year? He probably had a few of those moments.
Funnily enough, Paddy may have felt accepted like a Geelong player even in his last game for the Adelaide Crows.
Go on then. Yes, of course. Great call.
I think it actually was Matty Stokes, James Kelly and Stevie's last game for the Cats.
Yeah.
And down here. And when Paddy got it in the last quarter, the whole crowd was cheering.
That's that's a great answer, yeah.
This one's from Seb. Is Grynell. Grynell, thank you. Thanks, Meg. You're looking.
I wasn't.
You're looking after me a lot today.
I was echoing you.
It was a late night on Saturday night. It was what was it? Grynell Messi, our best player at the moment from Seb.
Grynell.
Grynell, yes. Best player. He's in the best, certainly, group of players for the season. If you thought best and fairest right now, with 3 games to go in the home and away season, Jez is leading at the halfway mark by a fair bit, but due to various things with Jez, probably drops a little bit. It's probably Tom Stewart.
I was going to say Stewie's coming for him.
Yeah, Myers. Who am I missing? Tom Atkins has been remarkably consistent. Brad Close has been very consistent.
Jack
Hawkins
Henry was missed too much of the season, but his past month was awesome.
In what has been a strange and at times frustrating season as far as availability, Seb, to answer your question, Brian Myers probably sits in the top 3 or 4 in the best and fairest. So, yes, he is one of our best players at the moment.
He's in form.
Yeah.
Going well.
Certainly the way he played on Saturday night was outstanding. Jazzalee poses this question to us, Meg. How seamless?
Best and fairest?
Yes. How seamless will Cam Guthrie's re-entrance into the team be post-injury? Now, I did hear from Simon Lloyd too as part of that health update. He's entering full training.
Yeah, so exciting, isn't it? I had a look yesterday morning. I think there was a craft session on GMHBA and I looked across and there's Garth kicking an inside 50 on the... I won't use the expression we use in women's football, but on the emblem.
On the sternum?
On the sternum. On the sternum. So, gosh, we've spoken a little bit about how important it is that players come back in form and games under their belt. That will probably not be a luxury afforded to Cam. So, at the same time, he's one of our most experienced players and most consistent. So, I'd like to think it's seamless. I think he'll have, a couple of weeks of full training under his belt with the team before that happens. So, hopefully it's before the end of the home and away season because as discussed, we have a few big ones coming up.
And Jazzalee, one thing I can guarantee you, he will be fit. He will be super fit, absolute professional. But no matter how much training he's done, at about the 12-minute mark of the first quarter of his first game back, he's going to be blowing like he thinks he's completely unfit.
It's so funny that we had 4 quarters of, it's about the W team again. We had 4 quarters of match sim on Saturday, and we have a player in her second year, Abby McDonald, who's very, a talented footballer, but just it's scrapped. I wouldn't say that she's come in as an elite athlete, but she's doing her best. She's training well. But she was nowhere in that end of that first quarter. I was like, she's almost inaccessible to me. She's in a hole. So I'm like, Abs, you all right, mate? She goes, yeah, my God, I just get to this. I'm just trying to think how am I going to get through. Like, I just get to this whole first quarter. I'm like, I just can't do this for another 3. And I said, mate, everyone feels like that. The moment of most fatigue for the entire game, I think, is sometime before quarter time. he's struggling.
You are going at such a high intensity and high speed, and if you don't have that match conditioning yet, it feels like you have not spent a day training. You've just got straight off the couch. You've been lying there for 6 months, and you are puffing and panting, and it's a great feeling though, isn't it? And then you find that second wind, as they say, and away you go.
Good.
Yep.
The games, everything settles a bit. And
good as gold. Let's hope that's Cam Guthrie. He'll have that moment, but he will work through it as he does and has done so often. Great that he's back into full training. Thanks for your question there, Jazlee. Thank you to everyone who asked their questions. I want to finish up, but before I do, Meg, I mention Morris each time because we really appreciate their support. And for years, Morris has been supporting businesses and the community to generate success together. Now, they are bringing their personal approach to personal finance. Cars, boats, caravans, motorbikes, even jet skis, they are all about getting you out there living life. Let their team of finance specialists take on the life admin of arranging your finance so you can get on with life. Call Morris today on 1300 4MORRIS or head to morrisfinance.com.au. We got to wrap this up, Meg.
Well said.
You're going to have another week of training, but as mentioned earlier, this Saturday, 3 p.m, Vic Park. Is it officially a practice match or it's
not officially? I think it's a match sim, so I think
4 quarters.
I reckon it's 2 quarters of all out go for broke, and then a quarter each way of each team decides what they want to get out of it.
Okay.
I think is the rumour.
Excellent. And then that's followed the following week by an official practice match.
The real deal against Adelaide.
Fantastic. You still training well? Still feeling good?
Still feeling good. I think we're absolutely desperate to test ourselves against opposition. There's only so long you can train full match sim going, I know what you're trying to do. You know what I'm trying to do. Let's just shake hands and get on with it.
That is the uncertainty, isn't it, when you first play against other teams? You, in your head, you're like, okay, we've trained well, we've done everything right, we're fit, this strategy's going to work, this tactic's going to work, I love this positioning, it's going to work. And then you're against another team, you're like, oh yeah, but is it?
That structure's completely different. How are we going here? Yeah. Oh, it turns out they think they're going pretty well too.
Everyone's had the best pre-season ever. That's fantastic that you're travelling along well. As part of your week, you will be heading up Friday night to...
I will be, I'll be up there on Friday night, of course. At the G, I'm going to probably stay in Melbourne. It's going to make a whole weekend of it. Yeah.
Fantastic. All right. Well, anyone else who's got the same plans, you enjoy your weekend. Huge Friday night clash, 7:50 p.m. against the ladder leaders Collingwood. There will be a big crowd, so I reckon get there early. Let's get lots of Geelong fans up there too.
Get them up there.
Just make sure that Collingwood army
there are a
doesn't
lot
get
of
too
them
loud.
up there already. I shouldn't say, a lot of our supporters do reside in Melbourne.
Yes,
so
we'll get to the MCG and cheer on the Cats. Then 3 p.m. Saturday, you're doing your session.
Yep.
Then 5 p.m. Saturday,
the Tillies are on.
You are walking off that track at Victoria Park no matter what to get to watch the Matildas play. Can I ask who they play? Who's the two teams?
We don't know yet. France and Morocco.
France and Morocco.
We got France in the send-off game,
match, wasn't it? Yeah.
But they're pretty good at the old football. So
I keep calling them pracky matches. They're friendlies in the
I think. Well, actually, I think on a technicality, this was a send-off game.
Send-off. Okay, send them off to the World Cup.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Well, let's send them off into the...
Yes, off to Europe.
Yeah. Hopefully they win. We will be back next week to bring you the podcast, hopefully talking about a Cats win in this exciting finish to season 2023. Meg, as always, great to catch up.
Good to see you, Lingy. Thank you.